of March 15th, 2020. Can the Secretary Treasurer Horowitz please call the roll?
We start with the pledge.
Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that's call to order. I mean, the
President
roll call. I got about 5 different things I'm looking at.
He's all excited about getting started today. President Eric Schultz.
Here.
Present. Secretary Treasurer Scott M. Horowitz. I am here. Trustee Edward J. Warner Jr.
Here.
And Trustee William Pell IV.
Here.
Trustee Ann Welker.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. Next trustee meeting work session is March 24th, 2021 at 3 p.m. and the regular meeting April 5th, 2021 at 1 p.m. First item on the agenda is Mecox dredging. And
hi, everyone.
Hello.
As you are aware, endangered species season is rapidly approaching. April 1st is the deadline. We, at present, Mecox Cut is open, but it is only a shallow meandering channel. So we applied in February to do the 1,400-foot long dredge, and that as an emergency authorization. As you also know, we are waiting for the issuance of the 10-year permit. So we've we're right in the middle. And anyone who cares to chime in here, James, Sean, Ed, Eric, feel free to chime in. So we're sort of in a difficult position because it's April 1st is running at us. We are waiting for the issuance of the 10-year permit. There has been no timeline or date assigned to that at the present time. So trying to make a decision between sort of what do we do here, because we need the bay to be lowered. The channel as it presently exists is not accomplishing that. So where do we go? Applying for the emergency authorization to dredge the long channel in the middle of the bay would be the most beneficial for everyone concerned. As I said, that request was denied. It will be resubmitted, hopefully in the next day or so. However, that is a 9-day work window in order to accomplish that long dredge. The other alternative is to dig the channel that has been the access channel, that is the deep channel, but that presently is all the way over on the eastern side of the trustee-owned property, abutting the Scott Cameron Beach. And there has been considerable erosion in this area. We heard from the DEC on Friday with 3 additional requests. 2 of those requests have been met. I forwarded an email. The 3rd request is to reword or to revise some of the language on the 1,400-foot dredge plans so that it would state the sand will be mined or the sand will be stockpiled, and it will be allowed to go back into the littoral drift. The language that DEC is asking to be removed is what is presently on the plans, and that states, and I don't have this in front of me, so if anyone else does and I'm misquoting in any way, feel free to read it. The language as it presently reads is the sand will be stockpiled, it will be sold, and it will remain in the littoral system.
Okay, it says, please change the wording on page 1 of the site plans for both channels, that any excess sand over the stockpile capacity will be sold to properties within the littoral drift system. 2, their comments are, all sand removed from the cut will remain in the Atlantic Ocean littoral drift system.
So does this not allow us to sell sand to the adjoining property owners like we have done for the past, few decades down there? Is this something that they want? I don't quite, I read the wording, but it's very vague as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Yeah, there's any excess sand, the way it reads for our application for permit, any excess sand over the stockpile capacity, and we have excess sand, says it will be sold to properties within the littoral drift system. So what we were envisioning, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to make sand available to people who wanted to restore their dunes, as we have in the past, and the remaining sand would be put in a matter the same way as the restoration project that Mr. Chichunian and others had performed for that erosion control district to build up the beach. Right? I mean, we're going to start.
Well, realistically, I mean, look, you got to get the slopes and the grades right when you do
Right.
finally close that thing up, and it's got to be acceptable for the birds to be able to walk, and you want to have that sill built up nice.
Mhm.
And then anytime that, we've always made sure that sand stayed in the system,
Right.
right? That's always been a part of what the trustees' philosophy and practices were, as far as I know.
Right.
So, and then there's the issue, and that is that the trustees are not at liberty to be giving resources away that belong to the freeholders of the town. So if you are selling excess sand to homeowners that are fitting the criteria of being in the littoral drift system of the area, then you are keeping the sand in. The trustees are fulfilling their obligation to the freeholders of the town in not giving things away and getting
Right.
the fair market value for them. Where's the problem?
I don't think DEC is trying to say whether you can sell sand or not. I think they're trying to stay out of a local issue on this one. I think that's the reason for their rephrase. I don't think there's a concern.
I think can we get clarification of this? Because I know East Hampton is right in the middle of doing the Georgia cut. They're mining tens of thousands of yards of material, and they have historically sold it following what we've done at Mecox. So
Right.
I think we need I need clarification to be able to talk to the public on this, because if they're going to tell us how we can manage when we can open and when we can close, and how we can basically divvy up our assets for the best of our constituents and the community and the freeholders, I don't think they have that ability.
Right. I don't think.
Let me interject something for a minute. To that note, I spoke with our special counsel this morning, who was going into a deposition, and I'm supposed to speak to him, and I didn't have access to this email because there was some email problems this morning. So now that I have it, I can forward it to him and see what he has to say, because it involves as you all know, anything that we do here involves a ongoing suit that's filed by a couple of property owners on the beach. So we have to be very careful of any way we word anything on any of these permits. So if I'm going to run it by him this afternoon, and then I can forward that what he said to you guys. And-
Thank you.
Okay,
But can I make one comment? I was in on the call with Ann and Sean and the DEC the other day. And I spent a lot of time down in Mecox since 1976 when I got my license to drive down there and go shell fishing. And we've managed that cut. The trustees have managed the best we can. We've had conditions in there where the water quality and the water salinity has gone to zero, where the majority of the shellfish have died in there. We've restocked it. We've managed to have it as a very well-run ecosystem for the last, I'm going to say, 10 or 15 years, because we were doing the cut that was going into the bay. Basically, it's almost 20 years plus of doing that. I'm looking at a problem that was created by an agency holding up a permit that when we did the historic dredge inside the bay, all the way to the deep water, it allowed the bay to drain efficiently, to flush efficiently, to get rid of that stockpile of sand, which is now accreting into the bay, taking away shellfish grounds, and basically unusable habitat for bird nesting and such. So by moving that sand out and selling it and keeping the channel in the middle of our property, not allowing it to meander to the east or to the west, which it's meandering to the east now, it's really causing problems on the ecosystem, the dune system, the marsh system, and potentially the town beach at Scott Cameron and the parking lot. So we've applied before our permit expired 3+ years ago, and this project has not been done in at least 6 years. It's something that should be done yearly to maintain that channel and to maintain our ability to best monitor and take care of that bay. And we've done what we can, public hearings, management plan, and setting up all the user groups to be able to have input into it so that we could best manage it. I feel that our board and that bay has been let down terribly by the DEC not issuing this permit in a timely fashion.
Hey, Ed,
enough time to review this.
Ed, could you refresh us on the phone call? Did you explain that, like how Scott, you just did that to the DEC?
100%, Billy.
And they did not understand, because Scott did it very good. Maybe he should have been on the phone call with you.
I tried. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean and Ann were there. It was Sherry Aker, but they didn't have any environmental analyst to answer any of our questions. So it was like we were talking to Sherry, who just came off a vacation, and she was being hit with all this questions and information, and she was trying to defer to her experts that were not there to answer the questions. So and I physically have seen this channel, whether it was on the western side, where back in 15 years ago, where it was eating the western side out inside the bay, or the eastern side. So it does meander time to time. By us doing that specific dredge in the middle,
holds it.
year after year, it allows a channel to be designated there, and it will allow us to better manage that bay.
I think we need another discussion, but I think that discussion needs to have all the principals involved. All the trustees need to be involved. And if the DEC is going to be part of it, there really needs to be people that can answer questions, that are going to be held accountable, that are part of the permit issuing process. That way we can, have a useful conversation and be productive. This has gone on for too long. It's been managed for centuries by the trustees. It didn't, suffer as badly until we got involved in this emergency authorization protocol, which is jamming up the entire ecosystem, jamming up the whole watershed, and creating a lot of hardships agriculturally, commercially, recreationally, and all, the interior folks that live around Mecox Bay. Can somebody be point person on perhaps setting up a Zoom, a web, something, a special meeting?
Scott,
Yeah,
you and I.
I'll make the call, get it set up.
Scott.
I mean, we all put on the table, everybody that's involved. I mean, they've been reviewing this thing for the past, 5 years now? Now that last minute, they're asking for more information.
They're
Edward and I-
reviewing a permit that they have issued 2 prior times for 10 years.
Right.
Nothing has changed down there,
Right.
except for maybe the the width of the sill and slight height of the sill because of the beach nourishment project, which we all expected to happen and is a good thing because it shows that the project is working.
Hey, Ed,
Yes.
what has changed is the people
Yes,
on the beach.
Well, yes.
Well,
Right.
people changed on both sides of the equation. People on the beach have changed, but there's also been a change of people that have been working on this permit because the people that were there when Trustee Warner and myself were driving up to Stony Brook to have meetings with all of these folks, a lot of them are not in that room anymore. And you have new people, okay? We were led to believe that that permit would have been issued years ago. You know, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but the people that were involved at that period of time were all invited to come out and tour the conditions. They all went to Mr. Halsey's farm so that they could see, and they went up to the bay and they got a good education from some very important stakeholders on what the conditions were. And, you know, we had some momentum going on there and they had specific demands. We met those demands several times, Edward. We were over there at Stony Brook, and it seems as though every time we went, somebody pulled the fire alarm and we lost 25 minutes of our time.
Yeah, that was
in the
quite
parking lot
fiasco.
more than one time.
Yeah.
We really need to get back all on the same page for the sake of getting this thing
Right.
done, because all this non-consistency is creating a lot of problem and we're spinning our
Well,
wheels.
I can understand the DEC's frustration because they've never wrangled with something like this. There is no other pond that they have jurisdiction over or say in or working with any agency, department, trustees, association similar to Mecox. Georgia and Sag are completely, they're coastal ponds, but they're completely different because they do not have a shellfish population. And
Right.
they do not have as big a watershed and other issues that are pending in there. So,
well, I'd also like to get their so-called experts on the line too, if there indeed is any.
Well, look, we've had a lot of public hearings on this, and we've heard from every single stakeholder that wanted to be heard. And we have a lot of common sense, real-time information and data that's been compiled by this board and our environmental analysts.
Mhm.
And I think that when you are engaging in activities that have been deemed emergencies by the state of New York, non-activity or delay in activity doesn't help an emergency situation.
Right.
And, you know, we really need to get on the same page. And you know what? I think like we're this close, but there's some breakdown of communication somewhere along the way here. And I think we need to get past that for the sake of getting.
I was in contact with Senator Palumbo's office. Ann, have you got in touch with Fred Deal yet?
I've left 2 messages, an email and a phone message. He is in session in Albany and will get back to me as soon as he can.
And Scott, you said that you tried to contact him too?
Yeah, I'm sure he's very busy with everything that's going on.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm
Great
really
state
getting
of New York here.
I'm getting a little
So I
fed up.
did leave messages,
I mean,
yes.
There's only two reasons. I mean, he either doesn't know what's going on in his own backyard, or he refuses to get involved. And I'm really getting tired of this whole business there. He's got to step up and do something. Okay? I believe he knows what's going on.
Hey, Eric, not to defend Fred, but when did Ann call him? How long ago he's been waiting for a call back? A couple of hours, weeks, days?
Well, the point I'm trying to bring up is that he's always trying to help us.
Yeah, well, ask Ann, when did she call him? Was it recently or weeks? We've been waiting.
I called him this morning and emailed him this morning, but Scott had reached out to him last week.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did. I made a phone call the tail end of last week. You know, I try and keep communications open as best as I can because, look, it is a state issue. It's a state agency.
Right.
You know, the
Right.
assemblyman should know. I try and keep him apprised. In all fairness, there's a lot of things going on in the state. I'm sure he's got his hands full, like we've got our hands full, but we really could use some assistance here. And when we say we're representing all the stakeholders of that entire
Right.
ecosystem, the
Right.
entire watershed. So, and again, as long as I've been a trustee, it seems I've been wrestling around with this thing, you know?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
and there was a certain letter written by a person in a department from the town that was in conflict with what we see now about filling in the S channel and the channel on the eastern side because it could be potential habitat loss. I think looking at it now, a year or so later, that the potential habitat loss is much greater now, and the
Right.
potential loss of an asphalt parking lot falling into the bay or the ocean could potentially be even more of an
Well-
environmental disaster.
Well, relative to what you're addressing, the S channel off to the east, initially, from my recollection, it was a request from the Department of Environmental Conservation that when we dredge that long channel, to use some of that fill to take care of that S channel and fill that
Right.
in and bolster that eastern side up and protect it and remedy that erosion issue. And then I believe a letter from the Department of Land Management went to the DEC with a long list of things that they were not in favor of. And I think on two different sections of that letter, they were in objection to taking that action very firmly. And I think that because it was on Department of Land Management paperwork, they then opted to have us remove that from our plans and protocol, right? So, you know, here we are being accommodating to the state to take care of the problem. Our own township sends a letter over there that creates confusion. The state then says, remove that from your plans. And now here we are in 2021 with having to take a look and say, we may have a big problem with erosion over there that we were trying to work with everybody to remedy. So
Right.
again,
Right.
everybody's got to get on the same page here, everybody. And it seems as though there's definitely breakdown of communication right here on the 2-yard line with 30 seconds to go in the game, where we should be making an easy score and finishing this thing up and taking care of it. So
Right.
whoever wants to make the big play and get us all around the table so that we can win this game, that would be great. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm waiting for a call back from Senator Palumbo's office, and we'll start with there. You know, he's state senator, so he's directly involved in the budget of the DEC. So maybe he can get something done. Maybe he can push them along, because there's no reason for this holdup. And
You
they
know-
know very well that if we don't get that done by April 1st, then it's going to be another 2 or 3 months of closures for the plover season. And we have the potentials of an environmental disaster. The shellfish is unedible there, right, Ed?
Yeah, the salinity for the first few months of the season that it was open, it was basically unsellable. The salinity was so low, it was 8 or 9 parts per thousand, and no one wanted to even buy the oysters, and the steamers are very weak because of the low salinity. So
I mean, look,
it is a bad situation.
here's what I see. We had a meeting at the Peconic Land Trust, okay, with representation from every level of government, okay, from the congressman's office right on down, town included, farmers there, okay, everybody was around that table. And there were people that were brought in on a speakerphone from, you know, U.S. Fish and Wildlife and maybe even the Army Corps of Engineers at that point in time. Take a look and see when that meeting was. It was quite some time ago. And at that point in time, we had a tremendous amount of headway. Assemblyman Thiel was there. Senator LaValle sent his representative there. And there were some very firm directives that were giving to people to get this thing done and relieve this issue. And it's really very, you know, disturbing that in all of that period of time, and I'm talking years, we're still where we're at right now. Okay. And it's like, all right, time out, huddle up. Everybody's got to get on the same page, or this is just going to be a perpetual problem that keeps right on going. This is enough already. All right. So
No,
let me know when
eventually we're going to have to take an action, Scott, if they don't come
that,
through.
and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Okay, to take a board like this that's been managing, and the low hanging fruit, everybody likes to pick on the trustee board. Okay, but for the amount of responsibility that we have, you know, we've done the best we could, and we've tried to collaborate at every single level that there is, all right?
Right.
It's just that people have to treat us with the same level of respect and urgency that we treat everybody else with. It's not that hard. Get around the table.
We're in the way. That's what
Well-
it is. We're in the way of people that want to control the beach, keep people off the front of their beach and all the rest. We are,
Look, well, you know what? For the sake of being fair to all the stakeholders and the environment and the birds and the fish and the shellfish and all the interests, thank
Mhm.
goodness that the Board of Trustees are, because this is a board that's the closest to the people, and we're the board that sat and listened through at least 3 public hearings.
Right.
Okay, am I right?
Right,
Of
yeah.
everybody's concerns, and tried to articulate that to all the other regulatory authorities to make it work. All right. That's
and
it.
we're the ones that get the calls. You know, you can't even go get a bagel without people coming there. Hey, you can't get a sandwich. You can't get a pizza. Every place you
Listen.
go, you're on duty 100. We're available to talk to. Sherry Aker and the rest of the DEC, they go home on Friday night and that's it.
It's very costly. If I go to the supermarket with my wife on a
Mhm.
Saturday to pick up what she says is a couple things, turns into $150 in the basket, and it's my fault because I have to talk to everybody and she has to keep going. Okay.
Hey, they pull into my front yard on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can't even walk in my front yard. People are pulling in. What's going on with that bulkhead? What's going on with this? We're available. We're the only ones that are doing something. And what do? We get sued. It's like complete failure of all forms of government right now. It's just absolutely disgusting.
I would love to have another one of those roundtable meetings like we did at the Conic Land Trust and say, all right, look, you know what? Maybe they'll even host one again. Look, here's where we were. Here's what the discussions were and how have we done and why? Okay. So, you know, let's get this thing done. All right. It's late in the game.
Eric,
Yes.
I text Fred and I just got a text back from him. He says he's in a meeting. Will call me this afternoon. When he calls me, I'll patch him in with myself and Scott to talk to him.
All right. Okay.
Then we can find out.
I'm available.
Yes.
Just me and my tuna over here.
With
Just
the
me and the
mask,
dogs over here.
I see he's still masked up. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he was
Oh, I
he's hanging
will-
out with me, you know.
I will talk to Steve Stern this afternoon, our special counsel on the other case, and get back to everybody. Let him know what his thoughts are, okay?
Thank you, Eric.
And
Thanks,
until that,
Eric.
until that time, no letter goes out until we all discuss it and approve it, okay?
Hey, Eric, I think nothing should be talked to the DC unless the board knows about it ahead of time. Any letters, any deals? Because right now it's been, we ran out of time.
Yep.
We have a lot to lose.
All right, well, we'll see what Fred has to say. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go on to the
So,
next.
hold-
Done?
Hold on one sec, because most of that discussion was about the 10-year permit. And the discussion the other day was specifically about the emergency authorization to dig the 1,400-foot channel.
Mhm.
And when that was applied for in February, it was denied, but we gathered documentation that supports flooding. And as some of you have seen, there are several emails that have come in from people either that are residents or that are working around the bay. And we requested additional photos and additional emails from those people. And that documentation will be sent out to support the flooding in the application for the emergency authorization.
Okay, let's ask this question though. Right now, there's a limit of time that the inlet can be kept open, and then it has to be closed unless it opens by itself. Now, at this point, it has opened by itself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So is there, one of the questions is, do we have, well, I say we do because we have an act of the state legislature, but can we redirect the inlet if it's open right now, can we just redirect it towards the middle? So-
It's pretty much in the middle. It's not where it is right now. It's that it's not deep enough. It's not effective.
Oh, I understand that, but if it is open at this point, can we modify it and dig it deeper to allow it to flow? Do we need another emergency permit to do that?
We would need an emergency authorization to do that. So just to clarify, there were two conversations with DEC. The first was the trustees outside council, myself, and DEC regional council regarding your 10-year permit application. The second conversation with trustee Warner Welker, your environmental analyst James Duryea, and myself was regarding an emergency authorization to dredge based on the height of the water table, which has actually never been done before. So usually we're making emergency authorization requests based on water height. In this instance, because of this unique situation at the front of the bay, the water height is actually where it should be. It's the water table is flooded. So Trustee Welker, Trustee Warner, and myself are working to get together documentation from residents showing that the water table is elevated. And that includes test holes for projects, things like that are going to show an elevated level of the groundwater level. So that's the basis of the emergency authorization. So that's what that second phone call was about. And typically we have two trustees and council and the environmental analyst hop on those phone calls. So that's kind of a two-part problem we're working on right now. So we've been proceeding to try to put that application together. Any alteration right now would require emergency authorization from DEC. Their general counsel has expressed if the trustees were interested in closing the cut, that certainly could be put into the application, which would involve some of that rerouting type language that you're talking about, but that anything would require a permit right now.
Right. We got to tread lightly. Yeah.
And they still refuse to answer why and how the Act of 1906 has been rescinded that grants the trustees the ability to open up a cut at Mecox whenever their choosing is, and to actually have the powers of eminent domain to find another place if they want to open up. And the DEC, for the public's knowledge, refuses to put it in writing of how any laws superseded this act of the state legislature, which gave the trustees its power to do that.
Eric.
Which would mean to me that all they would have to do is say, oh, this section would say to me that they don't have the authority to control it.
Eric, circling back around to your thought about a modification, Ed or James, I'm not sure who this goes to, but so if we were to not request exactly the 1,400-foot channel, but if we were to request a modification to where the channel sits now, the language on the plans for the 1,400-foot channel is 1,400 feet long, 10 feet wide, 4 feet deep. If we were to modify the existing channel, but perhaps not have it be as deep as the language, is that something would it still work? I guess if we only dug 2 feet deep.
Well, the channel is self-digging. Once you cut any channel, the friction of the water finds a level, and that's where it runs at. We may only cut it 1.5 feet or 2 or 3 feet, but it will find a certain level on its own. So once that's open and running, it's beyond our control.
Right.
Is there enough level there to get ahead and get it flowing with the condition that it's in right now?
I don't think there is. I think we need about another, we need some more water in the pond.
It sounds to me like there's not.
Because there's so much of a flat there, Scott, that even if we cut it, it's not going to really cut anything out. We need a really high bay, but we need a low bay to dig the channel. Then we need the bay to get high and open it up and to cut.
Okay.
Water.
So stay with me here for a second. So you don't have it super high where you're telling me that there's not enough there to actually have a successful opening, right?
Yeah,
But there's a
Okay.
problem with the water table and
Yeah,
it's
backing
creating a
up.
hardship on everybody's properties. So what's that telling you? I mean, the water table is rising, but just in,
Yeah.
common sense terms, that this isn't going to be the total remedy to what their problems are.
no, it is not.
It's not.
You're not
It's
gonna
not.
remedy
So we're
it.
looking for, people right away are thinking, because in a lot of cases that it does, resolve the issue by letting it go. But here you don't have it high enough. You got the water table high and you don't have it to a point where you would have a successful opening. So
Right.
there's some issues that are not going to be totally resolved by this action.
That's
in that
why the
watershed.
yearly maintenance dredging of that 1,400-foot channel would acquire a channel being worked yearly, and it will be a deep little slough through there where the water will run more effectively. That's what we would do. But we've lost that ability because we haven't been able to do any dredging for 3 years because we haven't had a permit, even though we applied for the permit before it was, run out. We did all the proper protocols were
Right.
followed by our office.
Well, the watershed is so
This is
backed
where
up.
my aggravation is.
Yeah, and the
So
shame of
backed
it
up.
is we have to get all these people who are harmed to have their basements flooding, their crops ruined and everything. Now have to sit down and write letters and help us out and do the job. It's ridiculous.
It's all remedied by, having your triggers and working your triggers, We know it's got to be opened at a certain point without delay. That would be a big help.
Just to clarify, Ed, when you're saying that it would, if the cut were dug in its present location in the middle of the channel, in the middle of the trustee-owned property, and it was dug 10 feet wide and 4 feet deep, all the way back through the flats, then that would lower the bay. That
Not
flush
necessarily.
would lower the bay, right?
You would need a high bay. You would need a pre-dug channel, acquire a high bay, and connect the last little
Right.
300-foot section
Right.
up, and then it would cut itself out because it would
Yes.
have less friction with that sand that's there. It
Right.
would have a natural channel that you had connected to that was not in the middle of a flat system. With there's even at a high bay, there's only 18 or 20 inches of water on that flat because it goes dry at a low bay.
Right.
It's very frustrating looking at, and the drone footage that Donnie Downs took, Bay Constable Downs, was so telling and so helpful for me to be able to look down and see where the flat is and how shallow it is, and it really shows how not having done this for 3 or 4 years straight and have that constant maintenance of that long channel causes a huge problem now.
Mm-hmm.
I
Definitely.
went down, I went down and took a look at Georgia this morning. They finished digging there and they're in the process of moving the sand from the cut area down and transporting it to, from a conversation I had with a couple of the East Hampton trustees to other sections, but keeping it in the system. But it's very frustrating. You're right, Ed, because there things are moving forward.
Yeah, and we're at a standstill here.
Right. Okay. Well,
Wonder-
I'll talk to Steve Stern this afternoon. Waiting to hear back from Senator Colombo's office. And we'll see what, it's a fluid situation, as they say. So we'll have to keep in touch with each other quite a bit in the next couple of days. Come to some conclusion. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the next item is Wildwood Lake. Woodhull Dam.
Woodhull Dam Fish Passage, yes. Where do we stand with that, please?
Now, I composed another letter there. I sent it out to the board. Have you read it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me read it out. This
Hey,
letter
read it in.
serves to clarify the Southampton Town trustees' position on construction of a fish ladder at the Woodhull Dam in Northampton. By virtue of the 1686 Dungan patent, the board holds in fee title all marshes, swamps, rivers, riverlets, waters, lakes, ponds, brooks, streams, and creeks within the town. Wildwood Lake is an isolated water body and presently unable to receive migratory fish. The trustees currently and for the past 20 years have solely stocked the lake with fish, and throughout this time, the DEC has recognized that only Southampton Town residents may fish the lake. The state publishes this fact in not only brochures, but on the department's website. The trustees' concern is that if a fish ladder is constructed and anadromous fish species are afforded access to the lake, it would enable all state residents to harvest fish that the trustees stock and result in a potential overfishing situation. The board's duties and ownership was recognized in the New York State Constitution, and we have the fiduciary responsibility to the beneficiaries of the trust to manage their resources and maintain healthy stocks. While we fully recognize that introduction of migratory fish will increase biodiversity, resulting in an overall benefit to the system, we are mandated to preserve our constituents' rights. It's the sense of the board that the permission to install a fish ladder would be looked upon favorably if the state formally agrees to continue the recognition that only Southampton Town residents have the right to fish the waters of Wildwood Lake, and a condition is placed on any approval that if there is any deviation from this recognition, that the permit would be revoked and subsequent removal of the device would be ordered. Now, we've got some comments from the DEC that were received, and Ann touched on this last week. They were saying that they think that there's some eels in there, and that nothing of this sort would, the construction of this dam wouldn't affect anything. But this is from low-level officials of the DEC, and I would say we need something from either the commissioner or the regional director that recognizes this. Any comments on it?
I agree with that, Eric, and also have when the high officials should chip in on Mecox too at the same time.
The what?
They should chip in on Mecox at the same time. The DC people.
Well, it would once and for all clarify where we stand and where the DEC stand. We know where we stand. It's, we've had conversations with other representatives. Chuck Guthrie came to a couple meetings, and Scully and other, employees of the DEC. But, once and for all, just to clarify where they stand and where we stand, and put it in writing, and then we can put this to bed. We won't have to. This is about the 25th time we've had this discussion, and each time we ask them for, right now they say that this is the way it is. They're not going to claim any jurisdiction. But if a new regime gets in, a new commissioner or a new attorney gets, put into a power in Albany, which might very well happen the way things are going up there, they might have a different philosophy.
Right.
It's like the shore hardening structures along the Barrier Beach in Southampton and East Quogue. They were forever opposing it, and all of a sudden after Sandy, they were all in favor of it. So it troubles me with having something in writing that we know is sound and will, stand the test of time.
Right, that we can use if we have to go to court at some point. And a letter from a person who stocks fish is just not enough, because they'll just say you didn't have authorization to write that.
Yes, I mean, the project, the spirit of the project is a wonderful project.
Right.
Being a fisherman, I'm not going to knock that part of it. I think it's headed in the right direction. We have the fish ladder in the Peconic River. It's it's gotten historic grounds for the fish, the elvers and the eels and the alewives to spawn again. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Well,
Right.
and it's, some of the concerns, as you say, are already acknowledged on their website, correct? That we're holding it only to Southampton
Yes.
town. residents.
Right.
So I
all
mean,
to do is recognize that and say that that's going to continue, and that if anything deviates from that, then the permit is pulled. That's
so
what-
the concerns and the reason and the rationale why it says that have been articulated to the DEC, and they are valid reasons. We do have responsibilities. And there has been too much erosion in our town. And I don't just mean erosion on the beaches. I mean erosion of this board. And I think that handshake deals and all this other stuff, it doesn't work.
No.
Okay, it's not really the way to go.
Not anymore.
Sean Cambridge, do you feel that more comfortable with us getting something, there's a value for the DEC for, in my view, for stating the case of, why they justify what's on the website now, okay? Why this is for town residents, and why can't we get something that can go into the records of the trustees, justifying the goodness of this type of a project to the species and the environment and all the other species that depend on it, and the responsibility of the trustees for maintaining what we need to maintain for all the freeholders. I mean, we can't get something from somebody at the state that has the ability to make that call and send that letter where we don't get in a jam and they say, well, that person had no authority to give you that letter. That's not worth the paper it's written on right now. You know what I mean? You can't get that.
You have a couple different issues here. You have multiple agencies involved. The first being Suffolk County, second, Peconic Estuary Partnership, and third being the DEC. So you have, I believe, a request from Peconic Estuary Partnership for a grant of permission, but not from Suffolk County, who's actually the other sponsor of the project. So this is a project that's half funded by county funds, half funded by proposed funding by town CPF funds. So the town CPF money is being held because they have not secured a trustee permit.
Well, if they start work on it, we're going to have to take them to court because they don't own the stream that runs through their property.
So arguably a first step is having the county apply for a permit. So this board has jurisdiction and something to rule on.
Okay, so we're timely here. We're timely here because we just had a problem down at Shinnecock East where they failed to come to the trustees for a permit. We just had this going on over the weekend.
Yeah.
So we really need to continue the conversation, right? To say, okay, now we have another issue that we can deal with very easily, very fairly. Let's take care of this right now. It's good for the environment. It's good for the system, but we need to let it.
Pick two
right?
trustees, and we set up a call at the county attorney's office and county parks and rec to kind of sort some of these issues out, because the county is ultimately the authority pushing this project forward. So I think it'd be reasonable to designate two trustees and to set up a call with the county to discuss this further.
I already spoke to Bridget Fleming, and she's setting up a meeting for me to discuss it with the Parks Commissioner.
Oh, great.
Well, maybe we can wrap all this stuff up. I mean, look, here we are. We got, an Eagle Scout wants to do a project on trustee property, and he's got to get all these affidavits and signatures and all this other stuff before he can do anything. And here these guys are, they're accustomed to understanding about, jurisdiction and whose authority, and they just do whatever they want.
Right.
It's not how it works. So please.
Okay.
Let's get this done the right way.
I just want to stress that this has been a project that has been in the works at least since 2016. There is, I went through the other day, there's copious documentation from 2017. There was a research permit that was granted by the DEC that allowed the movement of the glass eels, the elvers, and I believe some alewives from the stream into the lake.
Without
This-
telling the owners of the lake. Yeah, okay.
I don't know that.
Well, I know it. I've never been
Oh,
notified.
okay.
You know,
This is.
None of us have.
This is a more than $500,000 project between the matching grants between CPF and the county, and Peconic Estuary Partnership has been working to make this happen. It clearly states on the DEC website that there will not be any adverse impact to the trustees via ownership if it goes forward. So I would
Say that.
strongly urge that we issue a letter of permission for this project to take place.
but what do we have in our files aside from what's on the website? What's in our files that's backing this up right now, concrete? Sean, can you tell me what we have?
There's nothing right now. That's why I would urge to set up a phone call with all these involved parties, the county, Peconic Estuary Partnership, DEC representative, and try to get what the board needs.
So,
Letters have gone out already. They know.
if they're making these
Looks like we are the
representations to
ones who are the obstructionists. All they've got to do is recognize that the trustees own that bottom and they don't want, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to not let everyone in the state come in there and fish. That's all they have to do. That's all.
right. If you're making representations to the public right now on a website and all this other stuff, I don't understand what the trouble is in somebody putting this in a written format, getting it to Sean Cambridge, where Sean can say, hey, we got the documentation we need. It's all good. Just like a kid who applies to do an osprey pole, a 17-year-old kid. We're holding him to a higher standard than these people.
Yeah, now we're altering a river, we're altering dams, we're introducing different species in, we're potentially putting the jeopardy of one of our resources that those fish are owned by every resident of the town of Southampton. We stock the lake, the DEC doesn't.
It's a fabulous project. It's good. However, you still gotta do the paperwork the right way. I don't understand what's so difficult about it.
Wouldn't it be practical if we had an application before us or an actual plan before us for us to review? Maybe some of us have some questions.
Wouldn't it be
I mean,
great?
That's what I'm suggesting is once you have an application before you, I think the board can make a more informed decision.
Right.
And I think the way we get that accomplished is by setting up a conference call with these people.
Yes.
Well, why don't we
Which
just
we've-
send them the letter that I just said there and say, so please submit an application to the board. And we'll
Yes.
To the board, you certainly can do that.
I mean, historically, we've had a very good working relationship with the county. Look what they did over in Dune Road when we had all the washouts. They sent multiple pieces of machinery down, manpower. We have a great working relationship with Suffolk County DPW and dredging and the waterways crews. So
Right.
I'd like to take that and foster that and work with, the people that are going to do the dams and have a good open discussion so that the people of our town, Southampton, understand what's happening there, how it's going to hopefully positively affect the environment and make better fishing in the cranberry bogs up there. It's pretty simple to me.
Yeah.
But we're not asking for,
No.
we're not being obstruction. We're just asking for information so that we can act reasonably and sensibly.
Future trustee weighing in.
Yes.
You're not kidding.
So just to clarify, is the board going to send a letter or would you like to start setting up a call and designating point people?
Would be easy to just send a letter, instead of all these calls and stuff like that. And it's
Okay,
just,
very good.
a permit, a very simple letter, a permit is required for any work on that dam by the trustees. And then we'd have it all in the open and it's before us and anybody wants to come in and they can, we'll have a public hearing on it and they can discuss it.
Well, it's a great project for the public to learn about as well, I think. I mean, there's an educational value of them articulating their project. It's a fabulous project. We just got to, take the proper paperwork and handle it the right way. And this to the public, they should represent it to the trustees formally.
We're the managers of a trust. We cannot just give away a stream or give away a water body. It's not being responsible to the trust. It's the same as if we had an apartment building and we were hired as the manager. We can't let people take the apartments for free or let people deface the building. We have to do something about it, otherwise we're fired. Okay, so, all right. So I'll compose a letter and I'll send it out to everybody for their review, and then when everybody can weigh in on it, we can send it off. How's that?
Eric, we did send a letter out when I was as a president, so there's been, and then you said one previous, so we've had multiple times of correspondence asking for this to happen. So I think
we definitely need to.
In case they start to do construction of this without our knowledge or without our, so we need to build a file on it again.
Yep.
We do need to have a conversation with the county, though. We do have a good working relationship with most, I think, departments or folks that we deal with at the county. But I still think that there's a need for a conversation. You got this situation, you had Shinnecock's situation. If you guys recall, like a year or 2 years ago, we had a public safety issue that was created over in Flanders about a couple of duck blinds that were in conflict of our program.
Right.
There needs to be better communication between the county and our board and a better understanding. We probably don't have to deal with trustee boards separately from the town council, or whatever, in the other jurisdictions that they do work in. So I think there needs to be a bit of education so that we could work a lot more efficiently.
Well, yeah. Well, the ponds, lakes, and streams situation was straightened out in the 30s with the Bellows Pond case.
Yes.
Ed's familiar with that. Is that we own the bottom of Bellows Pond. The county might own the surrounding land, but we own all the ponds as specified in the Duncan patent.
But all those, gentlemen and ladies that were around in the 1930s when that was going down, they don't know what's going on, and it's a whole new deal here. So,
well, I have the testimony book, so I can present that when it went to appeal. Okay. So, next item is public portion, but we're going to skip public portion to do something else first. So I want to make a resolution that we do a walk-on. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Now, I want to discuss 65. I've had numerous conversations with the attorney for Cliff Drive. I've sent him numerous emails and told him, and I've gotten all kinds of different answers that we don't have the survey yet. And I said, just submit the plans as is so we can start the dialogue on it. So a rudimentary set of plans was presented. I gave them to the head of the conservation board. He agreed that that's the direction that we should go in with the low sill bulkhead. We should start at that point. Spoke to on almost a weekly basis or sent a message or left a voicemail to get this permit in. And just let me remind you that the last time a notice of violation was issued on this was last July. And there's just been repeated stalls and don't have client's permission to make applications as this time. And he continues to answer and call up Sean, the attorney that's supplied to us by the town, and refuses to talk to me. So I want to make a resolution, resolve that the Board of Trustees direct the Bay Constables to issue a new notice of violation to the property owners of 65 Cliff Drive to replace the previous notice of violation issued July 30th, 2020, and further direct the trustees' staff to notify all town departments and boards of this action. This has gone far enough. I told him I wanted to see that permit in by today was the deadline at 1 o'clock, and it has not been received by the office. So just want to further check. Lisa, has anything come in?
May I, you will forward that language to me in writing so I can put it into.
I
a
did. I sent
formal-
it to your email
You emailed it to me already?
Yep.
Okay,
about a half an hour ago.
okay.
Yep. Have you received any application regarding 65 Cliff Drive?
No, Mr. President, we checked the
Okay.
mail logs going back to last week and we have not.
Okay. Okay. So anybody have any questions or additions to this resolution? Board members, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think it's a step in the
Okay.
right direction. It's basically notifying them that what they did was had somewhat destructive capability on the navigable channel and possibly the shellfish in the area, causing siltation and sediment on top of the wetlands in the surrounding areas. We gave them a more than adequate time to get an application in and to have a discussion. I think putting this notice on them is going to flag for us and for other departments that, something has to be done to resolve an issue that's it's not going to go away. It's going to continue to erode into the bay and cover up more and more of the wetlands and to fill in that dredge canal even further, causing less and less access for the property owners up drift of the project.
And regardless of who owns the canals, the silts and sediments are entering the water column of the waters owned by the town trustees.
Yes.
So that's
Hey,
the- Yes, go ahead, Bill.
What's the next, after we serve them, what's the next step after that? So people would know.
Well, the different agencies of the town will be notified and they can proceed the way they want. And then we will have a executive session at some point to be announced when attorneys are available to discuss any further actions that we have to take to remedy the situation. But this is the first step that we have administratively.
I think it's a very good move.
Okay. Anybody else?
They need a red flag on them.
Yeah. All right, so I made the resolution, I made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor? You want to do a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Scott, you gonna go do it?
Yeah, I'll do it. President Schultz,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz, I'm going to say aye. Trustee Ed Warner,
Yes.
Trustee Bill Pell,
Yes.
Trustee Ann Welker.
Abstain.
Abstain, you don't want to make a decision on this? Okay,
Not at short notice when it hasn't been discussed and it's brought on as a walk-on.
well, we're discussing it right now. What other options do we have?
She's well within her right to
Okay,
abstain. Motion does
okay.
carry.
Okay,
Yeah,
Motion
before
carries.
the vote, the motion carries.
okay. So let's go into public portion then.
We do have another walk-on, President Schultz. I don't know if you want to do that now or at the end of the.
Oh, we can do that. I think we have some people waiting to talk, so we want to waste their time if they want to get off.
Yep.
Okay. So Charles, you have some people that want to
I
talk?
do. I do. Let's see. I guess I'll just bring them in one at a time.
Okay.
Well, we can ask if anyone wants to speak at public portion, please raise your hand. That was fast.
Everybody raising their hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
I want to hear from Ed's granddaughter first.
Yeah.
How's
She's eating
Jackson?
lunch, guys.
Little Jackson,
That's it.
grandson JR.
That's it. Can you hear me? Tiffany?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Yes.
Hi, President Schultz and the board members. Thank you for that walk-on resolution. It was basically everything that I was going to speak about, but I just wanted to add one thing, and maybe Mr. Cambridge would be the one to actually speak on this. I consulted with an environmental attorney who said it looks like 65 Cliff would be within the guidelines of the nationwide permits on NWP 13. And it could form the basis of a plan to install the bulkhead and restore the canal and its outfall into the cove without an individual 404 permit from the Corps.
That's
This
the
would-
engineers.
Yeah, so it would shorten the regulatory resistance, would be less. They would still have to go through all of the entities, but because it would be more of an emergent under the nationwide permit, it would shorten and expedite the turnaround time. So what's happening though, the longer that this landslide stays in the water and the property continues to erode, 65 Cliff would less likely be able to exercise that right for the nationwide permit because it would exceed the cubic yardage because the property is continuing to erode. It's 1 cubic foot per foot of material, of yardage. So as you said, the notice of violation has been there for 8 months. They've done nothing with it. And they have also suffered no financial penalty. But I think everything that you had said in your walk on is fantastic. And I just, as Ms. Walker does have Welker has the right to not agree. She's had plenty of time, being she was my first contact within the trustees to understand the damage that has been done here. So it's quite shocking as the person that's in charge of our area that she's still continuing not to see what's happening and the harm that has been done by 65 Cliff LLC. We're going into another summer where we have stagnant water, mosquitoes. We can't sit outside for a barbecue. We can't access our water. It was a tidal water canal, which is no longer. And it's shocking, Ms. Welker, that you could sit there and not be in agreement that we've all been harmed. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Charles, do you have anybody else? Are you done, Tiffany?
All the hands.
But Mr. Cambridge, is that something that you can impress upon 65 Cliff? We know they like to do things expeditiously when it behooves them. So I would think they would jump on the chance to go through the regulations a lot quicker. So maybe this would motivate them to try and remedy the problem that they and Mr. Shea has caused in this area.
Well, I can't offer you a legal analysis. What I can
Okay.
comment to is I have spoken with the counsel for 65 Cliff. He has indicated they have been in touch with the U.S. Army Corps and have had conversations regarding this property. I'm not sure to what extent. I can't represent him as well. You know, as far as some of the conversations go, attorneys are ethically obligated to speak to represented parties' attorneys. So that's why he reaches out to me first. I believe the owners of 65 Cliff intend on submitting an application before the trustees in the very near future based on my conversation. Keep in mind, attorneys, just how I can't make a decision for the Board of Trustees, attorneys can't make decisions for their clients. They need authorization from their client for each and everything they have to do. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's not an attorney's decision, it's their client's decision of what action to take. So, you know, generally speaking, you know, it is in the client's hands. There is not an application before the Board of Trustees right now. We hope that there will be shortly.
Well, it's been 8 months, so
Right.
I one other question. Did you guys receive the Mr. Schultz, Aram, and Lee Smead had forwarded a remediation plan
Yes.
to bring us back to whole? Have
Yes.
you had the opportunity to look at that?
I saw it. But that's really for discussion at the public hearing. That's why I wanted to get the plans in any way, shape, or form to get the ball rolling. If there's not a survey, not at the whims of a surveyor who might take 8 months to do a survey, just get the thing in, even if it's incomplete and more items are needed, that we could at least start the public dialogue and get this thing moving along. We have, I don't know whether you've been at this if you've been in this meeting from the beginning, you see the problems that we're up against on many, many levels that are much larger than this. And just to get this thing done and out of the way, you know.
Sure, that we prepared that plan on the notion that 65 Cliff would either not submit any sort of remediation plan or the bare minimum to not show the true extent of the damage that they have caused with their poor decision-making. So, again, Mr. Schultz, you have been so helpful, and we really respect the strength and professionalism that you and the other board members, not Ms. Welker, have been taken to get our area back. We really appreciate it.
The problem I have with the lawyers, the situation right now is that the town attorney's office is conflicted also because it was caused by another agency of the town. So that's why I'm concerned about the attorney not contacting me, the president of the board, directly, instead talking to the town attorney's office, which is indeed conflicted. Because if we do have to take the town to, do have to do take action against the town, then our own attorney represent us. So
Right.
it's a tricky situation.
I
It
certainly
is.
don't agree with that analysis. You know, it's the way
If we decide to take the town, to court because of violating our permit, are you going to represent us?
well, no, I'd notify you that you have a conflict at that point in time. However, at this point in time, I don't believe there is a conflict. I have not notified the board of a conflict. The town attorney's office has negotiated basically the fact that this application would come before this board. The way the town code is written is once the trustees exercise jurisdiction, another town division cannot have jurisdiction. So that's the basis for this application. So just
Right. Well, the trustees have taken jurisdiction by the issuance of the first permit.
That's correct. It just that it didn't seem to get respected.
Right.
How could we assist you in this, Mr. Schultz?
Better off you don't get involved right now.
Okay.
Come to the public hearing with comments when we finally get an application before us. Okay, just sit tight.
And if they don't submit an application, that's when we go to these next steps that you're talking about.
We're having a discussion on our own about a separate council about what our options are right now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, you guys have your work cut out for you, that's for sure. We appreciate you standing by us. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
were you able to figure out if there was a way to put a cut in the shoal just so we could have some water and the silt isn't just setting and still building up at the end of this canal? If we get a little bit of water coming in, allowing it to flush out, it could buy us a little bit of time while this is all being worked out on your ends.
Okay, well, let me discuss that with our separate attorney then, see where everything falls. Okay.
Yeah, like if you look like just a little cut in the shoal, if we could get the water flowing in, it'll suck some of that silt out. We've lost about 45 feet at the end of that canal. It's just like completely filling it at this point. We're being closed off from both ends. From Mr. Warner had said it, from 69 Cliff, they have no more deep water dock over there. So we're being like closed in. So.
Okay.
All right, thanks very
We'll give you
much.
The next meeting.
I'll see you at the next meeting, you poor guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tiff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there
I
anyone
see.
else in the queue there?
I see no other hands. There are people, but I see no other hands.
Nobody
Okay.
else wants to speak?
All right. Probably they might be applicants and agents.
I think so.
Okay, so next item, Bill, before we go into permits, Bill wants to, I'm trying to get my agenda back up here again. Do you want to do it? Bill was wanting to do a walk on?
Yeah, we can,
Shellfish?
Yeah, we can do it either now or at the end, whatever you want.
Do it now. Go ahead. I'm trying to find the agenda back up again. Go ahead.
Hey, Sean, can you help out on this?
So you want to do it, introduce a resolution to have a walk-on to the meeting.
You
Yes.
just a motion to walk on.
Motion to yeah, right. Second on that? I'll
Second,
second it. Bill,
Bill, you're introducing it, so you need.
he's
a-
introducing
Yes.
it. I seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Okay,
Okay.
and now you need to adopt. Motion to adopt, please.
Well, actually, trustee Pell and I discussed, he'd like to amend this resolution on the floor
Okay. so
to
motion
add language or licensee after the word boat in the last resolved paragraph.
Okay, so motion to amend then. He's making a motion to amend it. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Sean,
Oh,
would you please?
Want to have
repeat-
discussion on it first?
You reading this in, are you discussing?
Sean,
Go ahead.
could you please repeat the amendment? I see after vote, I'm sorry, what language gets inserted there, please?
Or licensee.
Or licensee.
Thank you.
And if the board would like, it would be appropriate to discuss this now and then adopt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but discuss it, read it.
Yeah, I was just introducing a resolution to amend it for the language to then discuss. Go ahead.
Sean, you want to read it in?
Sure. The idea behind this would be for the board to exercise temporary jurisdiction to modify the shellfish harvest restrictions in section A340 sub 14. These edits would involve changing the seasonal razor clam harvest for both areas west of Ponquag Bridge and east of Ponquag Bridge to reopen December 1st, 2021 in contravention of that blue book section. The intent there is to protect the shellfish population and overfishing of that species. Similarly, the board is interested in, from what I've gathered, limiting commercial shellfishing to 2,000 hard clams per boat or per licensee per day. I understand there's a limit set by the board prior to the opening of each season. At this point, the board wants to modify that limit to 2,000 hard clams per boat per day or per licensee for those people that are raking to collect those clams. The board has jurisdiction to do this under the special authority section, A340 section 16, to regulate shellfishing seasons and manners of collection. And the justification for doing this is to prevent harm to these species of shellfish population.
Okay.
Thank
Ed,
you,
you
Sean.
want to us?
Ed, you're on mute.
You're muted, Ed.
Yeah, I had a
Change
had a
type.
little, yes, oh, yeah, I had my granddaughter was here, so I had to mute it. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've have several conversations with fishermen asking for these, regulations to be brought forth and to be discussed and possibly be voted on and adopted. I am a harvester, so I'm going to make it very clear that I'm going to abstain from the final vote on both of them because it's the way I make my living. But I can give comment that I think it's a good mechanism for us to temporarily regulate the amount of hard clams that can be taken out of our town waters so that we can evaluate the population and have a good, talking point moving forward. As far as the razor clam harvest goes, I've been contacted by several baymen asking for this to be done similar to what Bill has brought forward. So I think it's a good move as far as the trustees and protecting and preserving the species.
And notably, temporary change. It would be effective until April 20th. Your next public meeting, which we've scheduled in this resolution, a notice of public hearing for, is April 19th. So the board can evaluate on that date, hear any comments, and then take further action if necessary.
Okay.
And then, not to recap what Ed just said, I had several baymen contact me and basically said the same thing what Ed just said.
Okay,
I think it's a good thing for the environment and the future stock of the bays.
okay,
Well, Ed's been a Bayman for decades and decades, and I take what he has to say very seriously. And I know he knows exactly what he's talking about relative to this. And if he says this is good for the Bayman and it's also good for the resource, then I appreciate that.
Thanks,
okay.
Scott.
Very good. I seem to have lost the agenda on it. Seems to with this town phone. Sometimes when you click off something, and you bring it up, it just automatically deletes it for some reason. So
We're going to vote on.
Need to adopt the, we need to
So I
adopt
make-
the amendment and then also adopt the underlying resolution.
right. So Bill made the
Motion.
motion to make the amendment. Do I have a second?
You were the
Second.
Eric.
And seconded it.
And seconded it.
You already seconded it, Eric, earlier.
Yeah, I know, but we had discussions, so erase that. We had discussions on it, so, okay,
Eric,
so, and
I
seconded,
just
yes,
sent you the agenda again.
okay, thanks. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to
Okay,
abstain.
to adopt.
And Ed abstains, and then motion to adopt is made by Bill, seconded by,
Ann.
who wants to second it?
I will.
Okay, seconded by Ann, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Ed, you're abstaining on this as well?
Correct.
Okay,
4-1, the motion passes.
okay, very good.
You voted to walk it on, correct, Ed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ann, for sending me that.
Sure.
Okay. Trustee Resolution 2021-54, waterfowl hunting location permit. So that subject to whereas the following waterfowl hunting location permits were approved for the 2021 hunting season, and the permit holders subsequently received various notices of violations pursuant to Article 5 of the Waterfowl Hunting Section 38 from the Southampton Town Bay Constables as follows. James Conkell, permit number 272, failure to grass/place blind and arrange for visual inspection by 12/31/20. Now therefore be it resolved that the waterfowl hunting locations permit listed above have been revoked due to the permit holder's failure to comply with Article 5. So make a motion that be revoked. Do I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
For the second?
Bill seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Resolution 2021-55. This is the same thing. This is the waterfowl hunting location were approved for the 2021 hunting season, and they received notices. So resolved that upon showing of good cause from each of the above permittees, the trustees decide not to revoke the waterfowl hunting location permits for Jesse Fritz, permit number 25, LeGrand Klager and Nicholas Klager, permit number 85, and Adam Keibel, permit number 282. I make that motion.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ed seconded it.
I heard Scott first, but we'll put Ed if that's what you want.
Whatever you like. As long as it gets done.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Resolution 2021-56, Pine Neck Landing Association renewal application, third one for permit number BLK 00121, located at Pine Neck Landing Association at the end of Landing Lane in East Quogue. Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Ed seconded, Scott abstains. Okay. Application of 2021-57. This is application of Joseph Sinopoli, 30 Ringneck Road, Remsenburg, body of water, Spionk Cove. That's resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Town of South authorizes the President and Secretary to sign the permit of Joseph Sinopoli for 2 spinner personal watercraft lifts installed on the existing bulkhead in a 2-inch layer of pea gravel over the existing soil and premises located at 30 Ringneck Road in Remsenburg. We discussed this at the work session and it was agreed to move it on. So I make a motion that that be approved.
Second.
Ed seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 2021-58. This is Jeffrey Pantanjo at 187 Evergreen Road, Flanders, New York, Peconic River. We discussed this at work session. It conforms to the blue book. This was the one with the large platform that was going to be removed in the Peconic River and the shortening of the dock. I make a motion that it be approved.
Eric, I have an application for Joseph and Melissa Orilia, Orella.
You read the name of the agent, Eric, by mistake.
Oh, sorry. This is so small. I'm reading it off this application of Melissa Orilla. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, that's the one. That's the one with the large float and not the platform in the river
Yes.
there. Okay. So that's 2021-58. Make the motion to be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Carried. Scott's next.
All right, I'm up. I've got resolution 2021-59. It's on Penniman's in the Village of Quogue. It's Hyde Park 6 LLC, 6 Shinnecock Road. It's another application that we worked on at work session. At this point in time, it meets all of our Blue Book regulations, and I recommend its issuance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Warner.
Warner's next.
Trustee resolution 2021-60, 2020-21 waterfowl hunting location permit return spot to wait list. Brenda
Bernard
Schmada,
I think.
Shemida, permit number 96 to return it to the wait list. Need a second on that?
Second.
Second.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Trustee resolution, that was 61, yes. Okay, I got half of my, on one screen, half on another.
Yeah, I
Trustee
know.
resolution
Very
2021-61, recall and amend trustee resolution number 2021-43, application of Watergate LLC, 64 Westway Drive, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County, tax map 900-233-1-28, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. We discussed this at work session, so I recommend that we amend and recall the permit. Need a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Trustee resolution 2021-62, application of Smith Creek 124 LLC, 124 Springville Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map 900-293-4-2, body of water, Smith Creek. We discussed this at work session. We went over it quite extensively. Moved on to where we are now, and I recommend its approval. So I need a second on this.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Scott seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee resolution 2021-63. This is the third renewal for 88 Redwood Road LLC, permit number FLD 00025, 88 Redwood Road in Sag Harbor, Suffolk County, tax map 903-1-3-4, body of water, Sag Harbor Cove. This is a renewal for a catwalk, and I would like to request its approval.
Second.
Bill seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next three are similar. Trustee Resolution 2021-64, application of 1265 Flying Point Road LLC, 1265 Flying Point Road, Watermill, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-179-1-25, body of water at Atlantic Ocean. This is, as I said, these are three contiguous properties where it's written into the covenant that if the bulkhead in front of these properties, these oceanfront properties, is exposed, it must be covered with clean beach-compatible sand prior to the piping plover season. So I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
Scott seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-65, application of Benjamin Bram, 1271 Flying Point Road, Watermill, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-179-1-27.7, body of water, Atlantic Ocean. Again, this is to provide beach sand to renourish and cover the bulkhead and then plant American beach grass landward of the bulkhead. I'd like to request its approval.
Okay,
Second.
Ed seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Trustee Resolution 2021-66, application of Lewis and Clark LLC, 1285 Flying Point Road, Watermill, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-179-1-27.1, body of water, Atlantic Ocean. Again, this is to renourish and cover the exposed bulkhead. I'd like to request its approval.
Second.
Ed, Bill seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-67, application of 180 Mid-Ocean Drive LLC, 180 Mid-Ocean Drive, Bridgehampton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-134-4-29.1, body of water, Sam's Creek. This is a construction of a ramp. We discussed it at work session. I'd like to request its approval.
Second.
Bill seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I've got trustee resolution 2021-68. It is the warrant number 5 for 2021. It is, the total is $4,173.91. Breakdown is Barnwell House of Tires, $487.28. BNB Bank, $1603.45. Call Ahead, $50. InterScience, $349. Ricky's Plumbing and Heating Supplies, $90.72. Sokoloff Stern, $1,072.50. Trias Truck, $502.08. And WB Mason, $18.88. Cost money to run the trustees.
Yep. Okay, we have a second,
Second.
Second.
Ed seconded, favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay, resolution 2021-69 is the authorization to continue of the legal services of Sokoloff Stern LLP to continue to retain them for matters relating to Havemeyer et al. Versus the town of Southampton. This is relative to Rose Hill Road, not to exceed $1,000 and not to exceed exceed the budget. So make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
Second.
Second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next is Bill, the dredges.
Trustee Resolution 2021-70, authorize use of dredging and set up harvest limits in Mecox Bay and set harvest limits during the period of April 1st to April 30th for removal of oysters. Basically, this is for dredging. We let them dredge in Mecox for a month. It's good for the bottom, good for the oysters in there. We have done it previous years, so I'd like to push this forward.
What about the discussion that we had about, are you going to put that in a special condition that they, any of- that
Yeah,
they
we could do that. Yeah, they usually, that usually happens when they pick off, because they run off to the side and pick off the column board. Because they don't want to pick where they're dredging.
Right,
So
of course.
So we can put this in that they have to run off to the side and to dumps oysters.
Okay, that's more of a management issue. We don't have to have that in the resolution, so, okay, so, any
All right,
discussion
who was
on this?
the second on that, please?
Well, I'm asking if there's any other discussion on it first.
No, I
Anybody
think it's a good harvest method. It breaks up the oyster reefs and it unearths the shells for juvenile oysters to set on when they set at a later time in the season. So
Mhm.
it's been a practice we've used for years in there, and it's been
Yeah.
very efficient and effective at growing better oysters.
Okay. Any other discussion on it? Okay, so Bill has the motion. Do we have a second on it?
Second,
And seconded, all in favor?
All right.
I'm going to abstain.
Ed abstains. Okay. So that concludes our regular business. Anybody else have anything to bring up?
I would just like to advise the board that although it is difficult getting paperwork out of a lot of the regulatory authorities that we have to deal with, we did get the necessary paperwork from the 16-year-old doing the Eagle Scout project that's going to allow him and allow the trustees to have another osprey pull, which I think is going to be in Trustee Pell's area out at Agawam, Lake Agawam. Agawam's been a place that's gotten a lot of attention lately for good reason. And it would, as Trustee Pell had indicated, would be a great place to have some more nature. And, you could set the location where you feel it most necessary. And we will, we'll direct the Eagle Scout to, to use that location as discussed, because we have all the paperwork.
So
Very-
Scott, is he going to raise money to build the platform and install it, just like the
He's
other-
got to follow the protocols of that project to a T. The Boy Scouts have strict,
okay?
strict, guidelines that they have to follow, and they have to follow, but obviously he needs permissions, and he's going to need some guidance. And Bill said he had an excellent area, and I think it's great that we all work together and make it happen. So the paperwork is here. You might want to do an X marks the spot type of thing, and we'll have a good communication, and we'll get it going. We're also scheduled, I think it's great working with these organizations to do these projects. I mean, it's really great. It's just unfortunate that with the pandemic, you can't have these ceremonies. Next meeting we're scheduled to have proclamation for a past candidate, Eagle Scout candidate that did a project with the trustees.
Yeah.
So this is, we wrestle with a lot of different things, but these are really good things and really good kids. So Bill, put a spot, and I'll coordinate everybody together, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you, Scott. And I also would like to thank Peter Gishon. He's a local tree company in Southampton who donated 4 locust poles over the weekend, and it affords the trustees to put up 4 more ospreys. Scott and I are looking at the locations, 3 other locations. I think one's going to go down a Far Pond. Someone called today. I called Richie, our Bay Constable. I think it was over the weekend. They actually came and picked up the pole today to bring it down there. The other 2 will probably go in the West Neck area, maybe on Rats Island, and it's a fun project for the whole trustee board to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, just FYI, I did put up 2 osprey nests, one by Jackson's Marina, and I had help by a couple other groups putting another one at Middle Pond. Immediately they were nested on. So Far Pond is another good place, and it's about a quarter of the way back towards Atterbury Road. So there's not a lot of foot traffic. So it's a really good area. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where he said where Richie said it was going to go, but I'm going to double check later and let you know, Ed.
Can I ask, Billy, did you ever get the one out of the one by the Red Barn that was the Parks Department?
Not yet. We're still waiting for the maintenance crew to pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the ground. It hasn't been nested on in 4 years, so it's move it.
Too much traffic there.
Yes, it's too low. The tree
Yeah.
line behind it. That's one of the things that I found. It has to be the highest point around the adjoining canopy. It has to be higher than the trees around it,
Yeah.
unless they won't nest on it.
Yeah, I like the
Hey.
one in the West Neck area. I like to put it at the end, the west end of Rats Island there. That way
Okay.
people can see it across the way from when they come down and park at the inlet there.
Yes.
We have one at the other point, which is last year had 2 babies.
Oh, good.
Who's that
There
on? Bill?
I think Bacon owns the property, but we put it on the edge of the water line.
Okay.
I guess our program of the trustees, acquiring affordable waterfront housing for the Ospreys is apparently working out very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it has.
There was an inquiry about an additional osprey nest in Sag Harbor Cove. There are presently, because an osprey was trying to nest on a gentleman's boat last year, there are presently 5 nests or 5 setups along Long Beach Road. 3 of them have well-constructed nests. 2 of them are empty at this point, but the gentleman did say that they were occupied last year. There's another nest in a tree along Noyak Road on the upper cove. There is trustee-owned property along there, so I think if we just keep an eye on things over there, and hopefully there'll be enough nests so that we don't necessarily have to put another one up there, since there are some empty setups at this point, but we might need one more over there. And we do own a piece of property there, which could be an easy waterfront site.
Yeah, we did a project in there restoring a wetlands in the pond right across in Long Beach entrance to the Parks Department. There's a little waterway just west of that would be a really good area for an osprey nest on the south side of the road, which would be on Paynes Creek.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
our goal should be to try to get a bald eagle to nest on one of them.
You
Yeah,
need a bigger pole, Bill. You need a bigger pole.
And I saw one today down off Mecox. They're huge.
There's one in
Yeah.
West too. There's one
Well,
client.
there was 2 of them last winter standing on the end of Red Cedar Point, and there was a couple seagulls standing. They looked like little plovers next to them. They were so small.
The lady who I was standing next to knew she had no idea what that bird was until I told her.
Yeah. You go up to Alaska, it looks like there's so many of them. They look like flocks of seagulls. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So seeing that we have a couple of very important topics going on, I will contact each one of the board members every morning to keep everybody updated for the next week and see how we proceed. Get to see what things are going on.
Okay.
Ann, did you notice any or get any feedback? Anybody alewives coming up Ligony Creek yet?
There's not water all the way through it. It doesn't connect yet, as far as I know. The marine maintenance, sorry.
I just was wondering if they're in the area yet.
Oh, not
Oh,
in
they're here.
Ligony, but their scales. Scales have been noted at the Alewife drain off Noyak Road.
Oh, okay.
So there are some that are coming, but I don't know about Ligony yet.
Okay.
Down by Brick Kiln, there wasn't any evidence, and it was just scales. But if anybody's interested in being, not you guys necessarily, but anybody from the public, Conic Estuary Partnership and Conic Baykeeper both are looking for volunteers to do alewife surveying, if anybody's interested. I just have 2 quick things. You'll remember back in late fall, Dr. Gobler came in and spoke to us about the SOAR program, which is a partnership with Nature Conservancy and Pew Charitable Trust, where they were purchasing oysters that were oversized from oyster farmers that had been impacted economically by COVID-19. And once oysters get to a certain size, they're not marketable for these oyster farmers. So partnering with Pew Charitable Trust, Nature Conservancy purchased the oysters, helping the oyster farmers economically. And then they're going into several different water bodies. And one of the water bodies is Shinnecock Bay. And they have been working on that these past couple weeks. So it will provide valuable spawning stock to help the future oyster recruitment in the bay. And the one other thing, Thursday evening, and this is if any of you are interested, and in addition, the public is welcome. On Thursday evening at 6 p.m., the 2020 Sag Harbor Water Quality Initiative results are being presented by Dr. Gobler at the Harbor Committee's work session. The meeting will be available via live stream on YouTube or via Zoom. The Sag Harbor Village website has instructions on how to attend if one were interested. So that's Thursday evening, March 18th at 6 p.m.
And that's to reveal the analysis of like the DNA from the sewer plant and where the nitrogen is coming from, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, good.
So if anybody's interested, there hasn't been any type of report issued on that yet. If there is, I'll forward it to everyone.
Okay. I had a discussion with Greg Rivara last week from Cornell Cooperative. He wants to talk to me about getting some people involved in commercial aquaculture. So I told him that I would get the details from him. They were looking for a place to possibly store some equipment, small scale stuff. I thought that probably the marina down in East Quogue with that sail loft that the CPF had that is sitting idle might be a good spot. Just going to take a look at it and come up with some proposals to talk to the board about maybe some aquaculture sites, you know, bearing in mind that we have that aquaculture feasibility study that we commissioned years ago.
Yes.
So, is the marina that was purchased by CPF over on Weesup Creek also a possibility? There's no building there, but there's some land there off of Josiah Foster's path, maybe?
Talking about
Yeah.
this at the end.
Yeah, that was Bill Swan's old property.
The second is a 2-story building that's just sitting there. It's called the Sail Loft. It's on the point.
I've been getting, I just got a report. I got to speak to the constables about somebody looking like they were clamming over there in that sanctuary last Friday. You know,
Really?
Now that you mention that, I'm gonna have a discussion with them to take a look. I told the folks that saw it, because they live right there on the water,
Yeah.
to call us when you see it. Don't wait till later on in the day and then mention it to me, you know?
Well, possibility. You have some more activity. You'll have some eyes on the situation down there, you know?
Yes.
We need eyes on the situation.
Okay.
I did have the Bay Constables go do a site visit and depth soundings at Middle and Far Pond. I had forwarded the board their comments. Basically, they said that the channel was unnavigable at the winter low tides.
Right.
Did have a conversation with Scott Hillary last week about Far Pond and how they're going to access the channel. It looks like they're planning on amending the permit to put the material on the west side of Far Pond and to do excavation by a excavator from that point and fill in between Far Pond channel and Sondringham, that whole town property. There's plenty of material and it can be spread out there. So I think it's a good project, and it will acquire, or it will, you know, move the channel to the western side of the template that the county's allowed to dredge it, where it historically was back in the 80s. So hopefully cut down on the possibility of the erosion that's happening by 72 and Far Pond Road.
Yeah. Okay.
One other thing I'd like to bring up is, I know we had hired Chesterfield to do a project down there last year to scrape some sand off the beach and move some material. I'd like to do that project again in the next couple weeks and reconstruct the road end and fill it in with sand and cover up around that rock revetment that we had given a permit somewhat seaward of it, so that there's a somewhat of a beach there going into the summer season. So is it something that we're agreeable to do, move forward? I think it was a really good project.
Oh, yeah, it was
Gave us a good learning about the beach there.
I was hoping that maybe they could, when the county could, when they were moving that over, come from that side and possibly pull some material back to the east,
They can't do the dredging from the eastern side because you'll be below the mean low water mark or what. You're in tidal wetlands and they don't allow machinery to be doing excavation in tidal wetlands now. That's why they have to go from the other side.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm working with James to see if the plovers and the terns are going to appear at Middle Pond. And if they are not there, we're asking the county to amend that permit to do that with an excavator also.
Mhm.
So I sent them out the paperwork. So hopefully that will happen this spring, because without those two channels being dredged this spring, they're not going to be able to get boats in and out of there at low tide.
Right.
One other comment about Mecox and the, especially in this time of year, from basically the 1st of March to the end of March, why it's really important to have it open is the alewives are swimming up or inshore, and they will come in that inlet. And we have had huge year classes of alewives in Mecox and around Mill Pond. So I think that's another really important reason that we maintain that inlet flowing up until the 1st of April there.
Mhm.
SAG too.
Yes, they'll go in there also.
Yep,
Either
they're
one of
both
those
open.
ponds, it's really important,
Mhm.
because the more of
Well,
these.
it's not always, you can't always just make that happen though, obviously, if you don't get enough
We're-
head
I
to
know,
get
but-
it to flush it.
They're both open right now, so it's happening.
Well,
So it's
that's
good.
why closing it the 1st of March would have been impractical, because we would have missed the whole entire run of alewives coming up to the Atlantic Ocean there. So there are other reasons that, that are not seen by a lot of people. Fishermen see these, like myself, you see these other reasons to have, these places open and flowing for that time of
True.
year.
That's a good point, Ed.
Yeah.
That's
And
a,
And I did have a call into Bridget Fleming about the county park on the Southampton side. I took a ride down there the other evening. The majority of the project was done as far as road rebuilding with, I would say, tennis ball sized stones, and some rocks were placed at the edge of the high water mark. But there was some machinery work that was done seaward of that, those rocks basically in the bay, that I have a concern with, and I'd like to have a discussion why the DEC was asked for a permit and not our board to review it. I believe, Billy, you were down there and you had seen the rocks. My concern is that they're of such a size that they will wash right out of there in the northeastern and end up in the bay. I believe they're far too small to be able to withstand large wave action and ocean surges in that area. So that would have been a good comment from our board if we had a permit in front of us to look at.
Well, the DEC doesn't recognize the fact that we own the bottoms. When you make an application for the DEC, you have to have an owner's endorsement in order to, any agent has to get that permission from the owner to make the application. And the DEC is acting on permits without permission from the owner, i.e. the trustees. So that's another issue that we have to bring up with, Senator Palumbo to get them to recognize that.
Well, I mean, even the Shinnecock Nation worked with us in Cornell on their, their living shoreline, which is the largest project in Shinnecock Bay. I mean, and we look at how much of a timeline that we set on Mr. Malcolm's property. It was 3 years of public hearings and public comment and talking to Rob Young, talking to Suffolk County, talking to the DEC and consultants and other people to get that project done. I mean, it's, you know, we take a long, hard look at a lot of the projects that go on around the bays. And I think it would be, you know, prudent of them to include us in a project like that, especially where it's a highly used boating area where lots of boats land on the beach, let people off, and so they can go to the beach over there. So
Right.
putting all these rocks and, you know, stuff in the water there or by the water, eventually ending up because of the erosion in the water, could be a potential hazard for boaters over there also. That should be taken into consideration.
Right.
Could you tell me what the disposition is of the constables going down there?
The constable down and determined, Bill was down, correct me if I'm wrong, but they determined that at that point, none of it was just above the high water mark.
Yes,
Right.
but I was down there at just before dark the other night, and you could see where there's a very large pile of sand which had been scraped up from basically the bay bottom seaward of the rocks that were being placed there. And it was a very low tide. So there was work done on below the high tide mark.
But the placement of where these rocks are they above the high tide?
They are above the high tide. They're at the toe of the road, and the road that was asphalt is being reconstructed with a tennis ball size bluestone. And it only has about a 18 less than a 2-foot elevation above mean high water there. So a northeaster with a large swell running out of the ocean is going to cause a lot of problems there.
Mhm.
And it's a highly erosive area.
Yeah.
Where they stopped the rock revetment, that is the jetty just west of there, and they've continued it somewhat by piecemeal. This whole area from that point east going towards Southampton is all exposed, just sand with asphalt on top of it.
Did someone speak with the Suffolk County Parks Commissioner about this?
I have not.
Bridget Fleming spoke to him, and that's what the genesis of this discussion is supposed to take place this week. He claimed that he didn't realize that the trustees had to be notified. So.
Okay.
So that's in the works. Seeing that it was a weekend, you know,
Sure.
she called. She was very proactive about it. She called him up immediately and got an answer from him, and decided to set up a meeting.
Yeah,
Great.
but we do have a good working relationship with the county on a lot of other, you know, projects around here. So, you know, I want to make sure that we can build on that. You know, this might be a slight oversight. We can bring it to their attention, and hopefully it won't happen again.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Cupsog is worse than Shinnecock as far as the road is concerned, or as far as the erosion on the bay side?
Erosion problems, not on
Erosion.
the side, on the ocean side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
But
I haven't been down there in a while.
That's in Brookhaven Town.
Outside, not our
Brookhaven.
jurisdiction.
So, okay. Anybody have anything else?
Nope, I think we covered a lot
Okay.
of ground here today.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
there's a
so.
lot of additional
The heavy duty meeting.
conversations that have to occur.
Yep. Okay, I make a motion that we close the meeting.
Second.
All right.
Diane seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks for coming. I'll keep you
Nice
all
day,
posted.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care.